Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing? Hey. It is Andrew Hawks here. Call me Doc Drew. Of course, we're here for a little bit of coffee and crypto. What a great weekend. I hope you've had a fantastic weekend. I'll be honest. Just going to share something with you here. I missed you guys. I missed being here. I missed going live. I missed doing the thing, right? I missed doing the thing. So it may well be that I still do stuff over the weekend. We just might talk about other stuff because, you know. But that said, I did say the other day that what we might look at doing is also some hot seats. I love doing hot seats. I love doing interviews. Love talking with people and finding out more about different things. So may very well be doing some hot seats on a Sunday night, like maybe once a month or maybe twice a month. Or sun number one just got up. I've been out for a walk. It was raining this morning, so I got a little bit wet. It was nice though. Bit of clearing of the air. Number one son's working with our old next door neighbour today. Speedy. He's barely awake, barely alive. But that's it. He's there. So guys, today we're just gonna have just a little bit of a coffee, bit of a chat. If you want to find out more about me, obviously the people I help, everyday people, navigate the DeFi space, how to get in there safely, how to, and I've got a great mate. I've got a mate that created a book called Keep Your Crypto Safe. It's a little acronym that he's got. A little bit of a shout out to you there, Paulo. But I'm not talking about that. He's talking about being very, making sure that all the things are right, that you've got all the little things in place, which is great. What I'm talking about is how to navigate the space without falling for the wrong things, without getting into the wrong things, how to do it safely so you're protected, so that it is completely, truly decentralized. And that's kind of important to understand. So we started a little bit early. I mean, I think I put a post up to say I was going live at 6:30, and we actually started at 6:28. So there's going to be a few people joining late, and that's okay. When I say late, it just means they had missed the start. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about NFTs, and I know we've spoken about them. I know we've gone over them. We sort of briefed what a non-fungible token is. And we also, the difference between fungibility and non-fungibility, we did that on, I think, day 1 or 2, somewhere around there. I think day 2. And that's really just about the difference between fungibility and non-fungibility is simply that if I have a $20 note, I can devise that by 10 $2 coins or $2 notes if you've got notes in your country or wherever you are, and that's fungible. So like gets like. So even if I give $20 over as a note, I can get 10 $2 coins back and still have $20, or I could give over a $20 note and still get a $20 note back. That's fungible, like for like. Whereas an NFT, a non-fungible token, doesn't have that fungibility. It doesn't have the ability just to be exchanged one for one because they are unique. Every NFT is unique, and the hype around them for ages, for the longest time, was that they are, the Bored Ape thing was a massive one, and I think there was a Yacht Club series. Anyway, it's not important, but a lot of people. So it's just I think I'm just going to do something here on my phone, ladies and gents. Oh no, that's already on, so that's cool. And I'm back. The Bored Ape, obviously, they were, a lot of people bought into that. In fact, I think I shared last week. I had a friend, also the same friend that got stung with the FTX debacle. I told you about the Bitcoin that he had on FTX and that he's getting the value of what that was back, which is great, right? Getting at least the value of what it was back at the time. But realistically, Bitcoin's moved on a lot, and he's missing out on probably, 80% of what he should be getting. But anyway, that's another story. But he also he got caught up in the NFT hype. And NFTs, for the most part, not many people fully understand them, which is sad because you're going to have to understand it more and more and more moving forward. It's going to become more and more important. We've spoken about, over the last week or so, we've spoken about ownership. We've spoken about real estate being on the blockchain. We've spoken about your medical records being on the blockchain. We've spoken about commodities being on the blockchain. Very, very true. Now, if your house is your house, right, It's one of one. That's essentially non-fungible. If we're putting it into a real world scenario, it's non-fungible. You like, okay, I'm in an apartment right now. Yes, okay, there's probably 4 pretty much identical apartments on the floor, but there's none that's actually this one. It's kind of like when you look back at, and this is a personal development thing, I always remember saying the map cannot be the territory. So the map is never ever identical to the place you are. You could have a perfect map, even a scale map of Sydney, but it's never ever going to be Sydney. It's going to be a copy. So same with your property. So NFTs literally label or attach themselves to something that is absolutely unique. Now, most people, as I say, have gone through, thanks to all those people that are joining me on TikTok, by the way, and of course on Facebook and YouTube. Hey, how you doing? Hope you're well. Good morning. Good Monday. So they are unique, right? Just like the Bored Apes, they were always a different picture or whatever, and there's lots of those little things come out. You know, I looked at a business partner and I looked at them and creating a series of NFTs ourselves. Cool. And what? Just to make a little bit of a quick buck. And that's essentially what a lot of people did around the NFTs, and they, rode the hype. But what I want to invite you to consider is that really they are now a proof of ownership. So I want you to start thinking of NFTs. I was just getting some notifications on my TikTok. I'm not sure what it's about, but anyway. I want you to think of NFTs like your unique membership, because that's essentially what they can be used for. And when I started talking about properties, you could literally have this apartment could be an NFT, right? Meaning that if I put this property into an NFT, I could then associate X amount of tokens with it, or a token with it, and say, or a coin, and say that you need X amount of these coins to buy this NFT, or you need X amount of fiat money to buy this NFT. This property can be an NFT. The same with memberships, digital memberships, when we start to look at things. The same, and I spoke briefly about businesses the other day as well. You literally build a business on a blockchain on an NFT. Now it becomes and I hate this term, but realistically, and it's not for you specifically personally, it becomes a digital identity, not of the person, although you could probably create an NFT of yourself, but why would you do that? That's what the government's trying to do. That's not what we're trying to do. It's a digital ID or identifier of an object, of a property, of a car, of a boat, of a membership. So if you had a private members association, for example, you could say, all right, there's going to be 100 NFTs minted that are going to be the founders NFTs, and they're going to be each worth $10,000. So if you've got 100 minted at $10,000, what's that? It's $1 million, right? Or is it 10 million? No, it's $1 million. So you could raise $1 million like that for your PMA, for your private members association. And the beauty of it is that the only way in is with one of these, or not necessarily the only way in. You could have different tiers as well. You could go, okay, the founders tiers are $10,000, but if you want to be a part of this club, part of this private members association, we could have tiers of NFTs. We could have associate NFTs or whatever. You can give it the names or whatever that you wanted to put into it. But again, you can use that to raise funds. Now you can either put that back into the community, and I'm not saying go out and do this as a fundraiser. I'm saying these are the use cases you could use for it. You put that back into the community, you can create funds with that within the DeFi space. So anything that you can do in the centralized space, you can do in the DeFi space with a little bit more anonymity. Anonymity. I said it right. That's good. With a little bit more anonymity. So NFTs absolutely have a place, and they're going to become more and more important. So when we think about, I don't know why that keeps popping up. We'll do it this way. What happens here? Nope. Okay. Oh. So as I say, they're going to become more and more important as people find out and move into the Web3 space. Now, one of the questions I get quite a bit is, what's the difference between Web 2 and Web 3? to understand that, I guess we've got to go back to dial-up days, to the ancient days of Web 1. And Web 1 was essentially text-based, right? We could send email, we could receive email, we could read articles, very plain text articles, right? It was very, very limited. I don't know if many of you are old enough, probably not on TikTok, to remember the dial-up days. You know, you'd heard the modem dial-up, and it was slow and it was painful. That was Web 1. Web 2 came with the advent of higher internet speeds. It means we could deliver videos. We could have the likes of social media like Facebook, like YouTube, like Instagram, like MySpace when it was still available. So that's Web 2. The problem with both Web 1 and Web 2 is that you input your data, so they control it. So if you look at what Facebook is, it's got over 1 billion users, and I'll use that because it is the biggest example. It's got over 1 billion users. They control all that data. So what do they do with that data? It's called big data for a reason. They on-sell it. Now, they might not sell your name with it, although in most cases they do, but they sell your demographic. They sell what your habits are, and they assign a number to you. Now, with that data, it means that other people can target you specifically. That's why when you're on your phone or whatever, and you've been speaking about something specifically somewhere else, all of a sudden those ads start to pop up on your phone. Well, that's Web 2. Web 3 is complete anonymity. It's very highly transparent. Everyone can see the transactions. Everyone can see what goes where and why and when, but they don't necessarily know who it is attached to. So it could be an old granny, probably not, but let's imagine that it is. Could be an old granny that's sending some stuff online. Well, that old granny is probably not really going to be looking at what a high-performance sportswear company, okay, I am pigeonholing, I know, but let's say that she's probably not looking for what a high-performance sports company has to offer. So how are they going to know whether they should send the offers to them or not? They're not, and that's the beauty of Web 3. You control your data 100%, because in Web 3, you connect through a wallet, through an interface, whether that's into the digital apps, whether it's into, you know, sending funds to someone, doesn't matter. You control it. It's a number. Nobody knows what's on the end of that number. And that's one of the reasons why government are like, oh, blockchain's no good, DeFi's no good. Well, it's good for you if you want to keep your anonymity and privacy. And I still believe, and no one could convince me otherwise, that that's important and it's your right. So we talked about NFTs being, what we say? Obviously they're non-fungible tokens, but they obviously used to be pretty much just JPEGs or pictures that people would buy and sell. I'll give you, I think Jay-Z spent some ridiculous amount on some Bored Ape CDs, NFTs. But the real world use case for them realistically is into the assets. So like the property that I told you before, the business that you can build it on. So then you can, the beauty of it being an NFT is that all the transactions for that business. Now, and I'll give you a little bit of an example. Back when I was about 30, so it's going back a few moons now, I bought a hair salon with my wife in New Zealand. We also had a cafe. Now, this is just the beginning of my issues, right? This was the cafe was probably the single biggest mistake I've made, but also one of the biggest learning experiences. So I'm grateful for it. We lost family and friends through it, but that is what it is, probably for the better. So here we are in this cafe, and then we purchased a salon. Now, it wasn't necessarily totally unknown to us. My wife is a hairdresser, an incredibly good one, an incredibly good manager and entrepreneur. She is amazing. And she said, this thing does this much money each and every week. And I was like, holy shit. At 30, I was like, ching, ching, ching. It's, you know, like Scrooge McDuck on DuckTales is the little cash sign going through my eyes. Now that salon had actually been closed. It was during having renovations. It was in one of the malls in one of the cities in New Zealand, and it had been having renovations. So it was closed for about 9, 10, 11 months. Now, unbeknownst to me, now I should have known, the customer list had been cannibalized and brought over to, because it was a franchise, brought over to one of the other franchises in the same city. And with the view that, oh, all those customers will come back. But he gave me the books. I gave the books to my accountant. The accountant went through it and he goes, this looks like a really fantastic opportunity, an amazing opportunity. Okay, cool. Everything ticks the box. We took the dive and we went upside down within a very, very short space of time. So there was compounding. Like, I bought the cafe. I was pouring money, heaps of money into that because my business partners weren't putting any money into it. That's one of the reasons why I resigned. But then we started taking money out of the salon and putting it into the cafe. Well, that's not the right thing to do. Okay, these are some really valuable business lessons that I got the hard way. So my point about this is, when we finally got into the salon, the books weren't anywhere near what I was given. In fact, less than a quarter of what I was given. Had that been on an NFT, had that been on a blockchain, we'd have been able to see all of those transactions. We'd have been able to see, they wouldn't have been able to hide anything. They wouldn't have been able to fudge the books. So from a standpoint, if you're looking to purchase a business and it's on an NFT, you know all the records are going to be there. So that gives you a little bit of peace of mind, which is awesome. Oh, excuse me. Right, guys, I know it's going to be backwards on TikTok, but if you want to know more about me, who I am, what I do, then head on over to drewsdaily.com. There's a couple of worksheets over there that you can grab and download. There's a certain wealth sheet, there's a wealth kit. But of course, more importantly, we can chat and discuss where you are and what your situation is too, which is obviously important to me to ensure that people educate themselves, get ahead. So realistically, the definition of an NFT, it is that non-fungible token. It's a unique digital asset that proves ownership of something. Now, whether it's art, we've spoken about that, whether it's a ticket to a restaurant or a ballet or a concert or whatever, whether it's a domain name, right? You could literally have a domain name as an NFT. And I'm thinking back to the Web 1 days, when there was a guy that sold 1 million pixels for $1 a pixel on a website. And you could buy 1 pixel for $1, or you could buy, a massive part, but it was a bit of a gimmick. And it went very, very well. He made the money on it, and people got the advertising or the exposure that they wanted from it as well. But imagine now, in the Web 3 days, if he'd created an NFT out of that, and instead of selling each pixel for $1, he had X amount of tokens, maybe it's 1 million tokens, and you bought the tokens. Now, you could work around that and go, okay, just like real estate, just like buying a set of apartments, you might buy one apartment at a time to finally get a bit of the block so that you can get more of it. People could start to acquire those tokens to then go and, if I've got the full set, go and grab the NFT, buy the NFT. So that's another use case that could have been used for it. Now, what is important to consider and think about with regards to NFTs, if it's an image, if it's an art or something like that, it's not actually the art that's or the image that has the value. It's the verifiable proof that you own the asset on blockchain. No one can fudge it. Now, I've heard people go, oh yeah, ha ha ha, more fool them because I can take a screenshot of that. Yeah, true, but it's not the original, is it? It's like saying that you've got a Picasso hanging up in your room when realistically it's a cheap copy. So it's verifiable digital ownership for you on blockchain that can be tracked. So it's kind of like owning the original rare vinyl record and not just the Spotify stream, right? That's a way to think about it. So you've got the record, it's in your hot little hands. You've got the vinyl, because vinyl always sounds better than anything else. You got the vinyl, it's sitting there, but it's not the stream, is it? People can listen to it, but it's not the same thing as owning it. By the way, that coffee that Sarah got, sensational, sensational. I do like it. I do like it. So I, once had a bit of a joke again with my business partner. I was like, bro, what are these NFT things? What are you talking about? What the hell are they? It's kind of like they're just fancy JPEGs. But now I actually realize, as I've matured a bit, and learnt more on the journey about blockchain, about DeFi, is that they're actually really, really valuable pieces of real estate. Now, it's like, remember P.T. Barnum, it's probably only in the movie, right, in The Greatest Showman, but he said, real estate in Manhattan's been worthless anyway, right? That was early in the piece because he moved out of the place that got burnt down and went into the big top, and that's how we know the modern circus. But it's there's got to be things happen around that place for it to become valuable. So like if there was an ecosystem, an online ecosystem that used NFTs for people to build businesses on, the ecosystem around those NFTs also has to build up. People also have to support that ecosystem for those NFTs to continue to grow in value, but that is still yours. It's still your little slice of the pie. And coming back to the example of the Private Members Association, cool. Get a founder's NFT, get layered NFTs and raise funds that you need that way. With that, you can offer stuff with it, right? Okay, for your NFT, for your founder's NFT, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, and you work all that out. And then, of course, you use the other, whatever balance, you might put it into liquidity pools, which we've talked about before. You might put it into APY, you might put it into some staking somewhere, you might lock it up so that there's continual rewards or returns coming back to that PMA, so everybody is getting benefit from it. And that would be the idea behind it. So that's just another use case. So practical uses for an NFT, we could be giving people private access to private Discord groups where there's high-level discussions going on. It could be access to masterminds. So I'll give you an example. Eric Worre runs a mastermind every year, and it's I think right now it's about 30,000 US dollars to 30 a year to join that mastermind. When it first started, the first year or two, it wasn't that price. So what Eric could have done in that sense is that he could have minted NFTs and they could have continued. Like now, if somebody got it as a founder, and this would be great for those people that got in early. Obviously, if they ever wanted to buy back in, they'd have to buy at the 30K, but they could now turn around and go, okay, well, I've got what I need from the mastermind. I don't want to or don't wish to attend it anymore. And then turn around and go, well, if somebody wants into the mastermind, I've got my NFT. Now, of course, that may take a little bit of money out of Eric's pocket, so he might not like it. But that's the idea behind the guys behind like a PMA or something like that. So major brands are using it. VFriends, he uses it for a ticket to VCon. If you're not sure who VFriends is, that's Gary V's community, Gary Vaynerchuk. Link DAO, you buy an NFT, you get access to the future DAO. So it's Links DAO it's a golf course, so that gives you ownership of the golf course, part of it. So it might be just the first tee, for example, but they're selling that as an NFT. You can get into it. It's your membership gets you in. Relevance, so it could be an image of your course, your coaching group, and I just mentioned about Eric and his mastermind. That's definitely something you could do if you're in the coaching space and want to provide value back to your people. Then you could create NFTs for people to get into your mastermind. And at first year, it's this price. And then they go up each and every year. And you make it so that, and you could even build this in so that if anyone ever wants to sell it in the future, they can. If it's your mastermind, they can. But 50% of it, and this can be all set up on smart contract, which is probably something we'll go into a little bit further. You could say, okay, 50% of that sale is going to come back to this wallet, 50% goes to whatever other wallet is put in. So you can program that into the NFT. So there are ways and things that you can do it. Right? Hopefully this is useful to you people. Just let us know in the chat if it's landing for you, because there's a lot of use cases. And I see people joining there on TikTok. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. If you're not sure who I am, what I do, then head on over to Drew's Daily. It's backwards on TikTok, but whatever. drewsdaily.com. You can find out more about me, who I help, which is basically blue-collar workers migrate or transition from the centralized space into the decentralized space in a safe way, so that they can diversify what they're doing, so they can break free of the matrix and realistically set up a life for themselves. So the big shift right now is that your digital your digital presence is rented for the likes of Facebook. If you're using, here's a general rule of thumb. If you're using something for free, you're the product. You are the commodity in that transaction. Hey, thanks, Kyle's main. You are the product. And that comes back to the whole Web 2 philosophy and scenario, right? Of course, Facebook are going to give you this beautiful platform to use. Of course, YouTube are going to give you this beautiful platform to use because you're the content creator. They're getting paid off your content. Sure, it's free to join, but they sell advertising. They sell your data to big data. I'm using that term generically. They sell that so that they can make more and more money from it. That's why their revenue is in the billions of dollars each and every year. That's why Facebook only too happy to pay $1 billion for WhatsApp, only too happy to pay $1 billion plus for Instagram when it was nothing. All right, and it's why Google won't give up the likes of YouTube or anything like that. It's like why they're competing with each other is because that big data is big money. So in the digital space, in the DeFi space, you become the owner. It's all yours. So the big shift is your digital presence. It's rented. Social media, email, even cloud storage. It's all gatekept. And this comes even further if we go to a bank. So your money's not yours either. And we've spoken about that. Unless you control the keys. Unless you control the keys, your money's not even yours. I got access to a decentralized, and I'll use that term loosely, decentralized. It is on blockchain, and we've spoken about decentralized blockchain versus centralized blockchain. We spoke about that a couple of weeks ago. So this is more centralized blockchain. But I got access to a debit card over the weekend that is completely anonymous. There's no KYC for it. That's kind of important if you want to keep your anonymity. The issue with it is that you don't control the keys. So you send funds to a wallet that is connected to you, which is cool. It's great. There's no problem. I don't have a problem with it, by the way. What I'm saying is that you need to be cautious with it because if you don't control the keys of that, it could close at any time. So what I will be doing is I won't be exposing myself by putting hundreds of thousands of dollars in that wallet to be able to spend with a debit card. I might send $1,000 a month or $1,000 a week so that I can use it for living expenses. But my wealth will not be there. My wealth will always be on a cold wallet, like on a ledger or a Trezor or a Keystone, right? It will always be somewhere cold that I can control it, not where it can be exposed to somebody else. So NFTs flip that. They give you the power to own your own digital assets the same way you own physical ones. It's the same as if you hold the title to your house. And coming back to that example before, and a car. Absolutely, you could make your car an NFT. Okay, well, I'm going to sell it for X amount of them in USDT or X amount of them in Ethereum or X amount of Bitcoin, whatever, it doesn't matter. You name the price, it's your NFT, they buy the NFT. It makes it just that little bit easier. So you can own your identity and your data, your community entry point, and it's crucial for decentralization. So if you control all those entry points, if you have, again, with that private members association, I think it's one of the best applications for those that are looking to escape the matrix, for those that are looking to be their own person. Sorry, person's not the right term. And those in the know, if you know, you know, right? Those who want to be their own man or own woman, then that's a perfect way for you to do it through that. And I had a discussion the other day about bank accounts for specific organizations, and they are getting harder and harder and harder to get into. Well, the DeFi space means, and somebody argued with this the other day, oh, you still need a bank. No, you don't. You really don't. You really don't. Maybe initially to get into the space, but you don't. And even if you're creative, you don't even need that to get into it initially. You just get creative, make it work. That's just how it is. But it's kind of like buying land instead of leasing the storefront. That's essentially where you're at. So you buy the NFT rather than if it's an entry to a business like traditional networking businesses, essentially you're renting all of that. because they could close it down at any time. In a decentralized networking business, like a truly decentralized networking business, they can't shut it down because everything's on that NFT. Everything runs through the blockchain. Everything is transparent. No one can go, oh, we don't like what you've been doing. We're going to shut your account. It's all written in a smart contract. Excuse me for a second, Harlan, I can hear that. Thanks. It's all written in a smart contract. So you become that gatekeeper. No one can shut it down. You can on-sell it if you want. You're not identified. It's literally a number, so nobody knows who you are. And I am in such a business, right? And I can see different things come through, but I have no idea, unless I've spoken to them and say, hey, is this your number? I have no idea who it is. And that's kind of cool when you think about it, because it's nobody's business whoever's earning what anyway. It's yours. So this speaks to what I was talking about before with the NFTs, and you could trail this on forever, right? The possibilities are endless, and the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more excited I get, because I'm like, this application and this application and this application. So an artist that I follow, they put their music as an NFT, right? They minted their music into an NFT, and the artists that are switched on are doing this. So not only do they keep 100% of the profit from that NFT, they can actually code the royalties into every resale. What does that mean? Well, it comes back to what I said before about the PMAs, about a mastermind or whatever. Mastermind's a really, really freaking good example, by the way, because you can literally code it in. Like, I remember I said, okay, so maybe Eric does initially it was $10,000. Let's say it was that, and in fact it was. In the first year of the mastermind, it was 10,000, and now it's $30,000 a year to get into, and rightly so too, because there's so much value that is brought in that space. So let's say I'd bought my membership right at the start, and it carried on the same all the way through, and now 4 or 5 years on, 6 years on, I go, okay, well, I want to sell my NFT now, and the price is $30,000. So I can turn around and go, okay, I'm actually happy to sell it for this price. I'll sell it for whatever. But Eric still gets a clip from it because it's written into the contract. And he can do that with every succeeding sale. No, every following sale, every succession, that may be the right word. Every sale that happens thereafter, he can do the same thing. He can programmed in. Okay, so 50% of whatever it sells for in the future comes back to this wallet, back to this wallet, back to this wallet. Then that becomes a continuing revenue stream for him for that same spot. Does he mind? Probably not. Is it good for the people that are moving on? No, it's good for them too, because they're probably recouping some of their costs. And I think that's a really, 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 really good example. So real world use case, event tickets, we've already said that. Members only groups, we've already said that. Proof of presence. So you could say like proof of attendance, right? If you attended, then you got this NFT, and that proves that you were there, proved that you showed up. So if we go back to the COVID days, which may be coming again, who knows? We go back to that, then they could have used NFTs to show that you were in quarantine or whatever, right? If you went through, or anything silly like that. They can verify certificates. So, and look, guys, I'm going to share something with you. I got a doctorate in business administration, and I got it from probably one of a very, very low tier university. And it wasn't a very high ticket of entry to get in. It was recognized prior learning. When I say not very high ticket of entry, it took me 30 years of my life, realistically, because it was recognized prior learning for the things that I've done, for the businesses that I've been in, and for everything that I've learned throughout the time. But still people go, oh, it's not legit. Well, actually it is, but it's not a top tier university. That's not why I did it. I did it so that I could literally say, I'm Doc Drew. Now, I don't see there's anything wrong with that. But my point is that you can use NFTs to verify the authenticity of a certificate. Because there are people, we go back to Catch Me If You Can, if anyone's ever seen that movie with Abagnale, can't even think of his name, anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio played the part. He faked himself as a doctor. He did pass the bar to act as a lawyer, but he pretended that he was a doctor. There was no way to verify his credentials other than getting on the phone, and no one did that because he was so convincing. But imagine now that all of your certificates become an NFT. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Not one that you could probably sell, just to show that it is unique to you. You can use it for loyalty programs. In fact, Starbucks, no, Adidas is already using it, already testing NFTs-based engagement. So people are starting to switch onto this. More and more big brands are starting to buy into the NFT thing. What can we use them for other than Bored Ape art or sail or yacht club art or whatever, right? More and more businesses are realizing that they actually have value far beyond a JPEG, far beyond a silly meme. Although, put it on a meme too, right? You own it. So, again, loyalty programs, Starbucks, Nike, Adidas, they're all testing them. But it's kind of like a passport or a diploma or a backstage pass. It's all wrapped in one verified token. And if governments are smart, and I'm not saying that they necessarily are, they won't do it the right way. I'm quite sure of it because, well, they don't generally do much right anyway. But if they're smart, if they're rolling out a digital ID, that's exactly how they'll do it, through NFTs. And I remember being involved in a project and it had I didn't like the connotation of it. It was called a soul-bound ID. Well, I don't want to bind my soul to anything other than me. My soul was free. It's eternal. But it was called a soul-bound NFT, and it was literally an identifier that identified me as being the true owner of that ecosystem or that product. So they have and that was 4 or 5 years ago. So they have very, very good use cases if you use them right. Hopefully this is useful to you guys. Again, if you don't know who I am, head over to drewsdaily.com. I've got worksheets over there that you can download, but basically I help people navigate the DeFi space in a very safe and effective manner to set themselves up to set up the right things that they will need to live outside the matrix if they choose to. Now, we had this discussion yesterday. A good mate of mine, shout out to Unearth, bro. It was awesome to see you yesterday, mate. It really was. But it's great to be able to operate in the private. It is. It absolutely is. But you also have to have a foot in the public as well. And if you don't understand public and private, that's okay. That's not the scope of what this is about. But you have to be able to play in both sides, I feel, to get the best of both worlds. If you want to have borrowing capacity to be able to borrow money to buy a house, and I know that's a big dream for a lot of people, there's ways and means to do it in the right way. But if you want the ability, the capacity to borrow money for a house, then you have to have one foot in the public system. Until you don't. Until you've become so successful in the private and the DeFi space as well, that you've got the funds there that you can just go, I'm going to buy that NFT, which is representative of that house. And inside that NFT, guys, here's the beautiful, imagine coming back to our scenario before about being able to program in continued royalties. Imagine building the house, right? Imagine if you're a builder. Imagine building the house and then selling it as an NFT, but having it programmed in that every time that house sells in the future, imagine you're a builder and you've built hundreds of houses, right? Or you've built an apartment block and it's got 1,000 apartments in it. Yeah, why not? 1,000 apartments. Absolutely could happen in Vegas, right? But each one of those apartments, they could be their own individual NFT that makes up that big one, as we said before. But every time that on sells, this is thinking really, really long term. I wouldn't be surprised if the Japanese are all over this because they write 100-year business plans, right? This is thinking really, really long term. This is how you could start to create some generational wealth for your family, to leave a legacy. And I'm absolutely about leaving legacy. In fact, I'm the founder of the Legacy Builders University, which runs online courses to help people in the DeFi space, right? Or in the networking space or in the business space, help them get ahead in the mindset, because everything happens between here, these top 2 inches. And I finally understand that. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate you. So, but imagine that. You're a builder, you're starting out, you're building a whole heap of houses, or maybe you're a construction company like Meriton, maybe it's family owned. I don't know if Meriton's family or public. But anyway, let's say it's a family owned business. So now you're going to have generations and generations. Anyway, everything's built on an NFT. Then anytime it's sold in the future, a small snippet of that goes back to the legacy fund or whatever it's called, right? It goes back to the family, to the generation, to, you see where I'm going with that? Is that you can literally program it in these NFTs. So it gets more and more exciting when you start to think about it. Now, imagine you've got you're going to an exclusive party and it's digital swipe to get in, but you have to have the NFT to get in. And if you haven't got the NFT, the door doesn't open. You're going to be trying to find that NFT. But these are the different use cases. I'm probably just jumping from left to right a little bit and maybe not making it absolutely as clear as it needs to be. But trust me, they have a very, very good use case. So your identity is absolutely the next asset class, and you can bake it into a NFT. Right, where are we at? What's that time? It's okay. We've got a bit of time. So in context, our identity in Web 2 equals a username, a password, and basically surveillance-based data mining. We've spoken about our data before earlier today on this live about how that's used to then market to you, right? Web 3 is absolutely about keeping yourself in control. And again, guys, you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com, where you can get the Sovereign Wealth Pack and also a DeFi checklist as well. Depending on which one you land on, let me know if you want the other, and I'll send that out to you too. Just there'll be an email that comes out to you. Just reply to that email and say, hey, Drew, I need this as well. No problem at all. I'll send it out. So your identity in Web 2 equals a username, a password. It's surveillance. It's surveillance-based data mining. So they're sending that data out to big corporations. So they go, this person likes this. If I'm in market in this way, and it's 100% manipulation. And if you've never seen, what was the name of it? The Social Dilemma that was on on Netflix a couple of years back, and how they manipulated, like, I'm going to say ethically, there's nothing ethical about manipulation, but how they manipulated a complete generation. And my daughter fell into this, and when we showed it to her, she's like, whoa, I can't believe that I believed all that propaganda and bollocks. But the Social Dilemma walks through exactly that. It's how they control the algorithm on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook or whatever, to serve up what they want you to see. It's very, very interesting and quite disturbing at the same time. But the future, Web3, your identity is owned by you. It's portable and it's programmable. It's owned by you, believe it or not. You know, if you do it the right way, there's a window. And the window's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that window is that right now you have the opportunity to make a choice for yourself to get into the decentralized space, to really learn about DeFi protocols, to really learn how you can control your wealth and how that looks and what that flows like. But that window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because big government, big brother, surveillance, they want to keep control of you. They don't want you escaping that matrix, but that window, it's there right now, and you can still escape if you choose to. Now, rightly or wrongly, it doesn't matter whether you go, no, I'm a big advocate for the system and I think the system's, that's awesome. I wish you all the luck. And I'm not saying you should do one thing or the other. I know what I want to do. I know where I want to be. I know that I don't want somebody making my decisions for me. I want to be able to make them myself because I'm responsible. I have the ability to respond, so I'm responsible. Now, I'm just looking at something here. It's cracking me up. But we have the ability to escape right now. And NFTs can absolutely be an escape for you with them. We're going to do an even deeper dive onto NFTs because I think they're so important. So let me know if this has been useful, either in the comments or send me a DM. That's fine. I've been having heaps of DMs because there's a lot of people that don't want to comment publicly because either they want to keep their anonymity, and I respect that, from the public. And they also have some questions that they're like, I don't want to ask publicly because I don't want to look stupid. Hey, let me tell you, there's no stupid questions. There is no stupid questions. This is a new space for a lot of people, and I spoke about it last week, or yeah, about the law of diffusion of innovation, right? And that's that little bell curve. It's the pioneers, then the early adopters, then the early majority, then the late majority, then the laggers, right? That's how it goes. Well, we're just on the edge of the pioneer early adopter phase. People go, oh, we're the early adopters. Yeah, we're still pioneering too. We're still pioneering. More and more early adopters are coming in, but we're not quite there yet. Hey, Anne, how you doing? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I will definitely do a deeper dive into NFTs because they are that important. And the more I've learnt about them, and I'll be honest, look, I didn't know huge amounts about them. But the more I've learnt about them in this last week, the more I've gone, oh, use case here, use case here, use case. And I've spoken about a lot of them on here. And I think it's really, really cool. Very cool, in fact. Okay. You don't necessarily have to be really tech savvy to make it work anymore either. There's so many different platforms out there that will allow you to do it for free. Like it used to be, you used to have to pay thousands of dollars for someone to design you a token or a coin. A coin, obviously, as we remember, the difference between coins and tokens. Coins run on a native blockchain, are native to the blockchain. Tokens run on a blockchain, whatever that is. So using the Ethereum example, Ethereum is native to Ethereum blockchain, so it's a coin. And USDT, ERC20, is a token that runs on the Ethereum chain. So that's just the little distinction. But coming back to, people used to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for people to code them a token to run on a blockchain. Now you can do it for free and you can do it yourself. There are wizards out there that will go, okay, and I'm not talking about Harry Potter wizards, I'm talking about wizards that will create what you want. You just type it in and it'll write the code for you and go, here's your code for your token. Here's your code for your NFT. Here's your code for your smart contract. Bang, bang, bang. It's just, and even GPT now, there's coding on GPT that will be able to help you with whatever you want. You can say, okay, I want to create something that does that. What are the steps I need to take? And what's the coding language I should use? Can you help me? Blah, 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 blah. And it will spit it out. A lot of people go, oh, AI is bad. Yeah, look, AI just is. It's whether it's used for good or bad. And I posted a video the other day. People took it a little bit out of context, but that's all right. There wasn't a huge amount of context with it. How much context can you get in 15 seconds, honestly? But it was literally about how to make GPT sound like you. And we're going a little bit off topic here, but it was literally about how to get GPT to sound like you. And people go, oh, we shouldn't be losing our distinct voice. And I agree, we shouldn't be. I'm saying, and we shouldn't be having AI do all of the heavy lifting or all of the work like that. We should be getting it to do the heavy lifting for us, all the mundane tasks. And that's exactly what I show people how to do as well in another life. But DeFi is absolutely the space where we're playing right now and where we're going to stay. So what are we at? We're at about 45 minutes, which is generally about the sweet spot. So I hope today has been useful to you. It's as I said, researching this has definitely been an eye-opener for me. It's been fun, and I've always maintained out of every Drew's Daily that I've done so far is that I'm not an expert in the space. I'm just really, really enthusiastic about it because I know the freedom that it can give, right? I know the anonymity. I know the autonomy. I know the financial sovereignty it can give to you. And that is important to me. That's incredibly important to me. And it has been since I was a young age. And who knows, in the next few days, I might even share some stories about my first entrepreneurial endeavors. If you've read Rivers of Gold, then you might have already read about some of them. But the fact is, we're on this journey together. We're all a collective. So if I can share knowledge that I've learned or that I learn, because this is a passion, I love doing this. This isn't work for me. This is just showing up and having a coffee with some mates that are here. And look, there might be a dozen people, half a dozen people, 1,000 people. I don't care. I'm still going to sit here and ramble because why not? Because coffee. But the fact is, I made a decision a long time ago because I was broke. Okay, I'm not broke anymore. Oh, 717. Those in the military, New Zealand military, will understand what that number is. Those who are spiritual will also understand what that number is. It's an angel number. It's one that I see with alarming regularity And you look it up. It's very cool. So I made a decision when I was broke that I wasn't going to be broke. I'm not broke. And you can still have a lot of money and be broke. You can have no money and be wealthy. It sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. But I made that decision that I would assist people to bring themselves up. Those that are willing to continue to grow, to continuing to evolve, that's what I'd do. That's how I'd show up. And for those people that need to hear it, will hear it. For those that don't and think that it's bullshit, that's cool. Carry on. There's going to be those in every crowd. And this will be the last thing, this will be the parting shot that I'll leave everybody with. Remember that. People are only talking shit about you. And this hasn't come up with anything in particular. It's just something that just popped up. People are going to, the people that are talking shit about you or saying that you can't do something are only saying so because they can't ever see themselves doing it. They don't want to see, particularly if they're friends, they don't want to see you get ahead of them. They don't want to see you taking off and leaving them behind because they're fearful of that. Not because they're fearful of you succeeding, they're fearful of being left behind. They are projecting themselves onto you. Now, I said that was going to be my parting shot, but I just remembered that I was going to say something. No, I'll leave that for another day. But guys, it's been useful, hopefully. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know in your DMs. They've been awesome. The DMs that I've received have been amazing. Far outweigh the comments that have been coming up, so I appreciate it. But again, Drew's Daily, you can see it all, drewsdaily.com. Head on over there. Let's connect. Let's have a chat. Anyway, have a freaking amazing day. You create everything in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly. So if you're creating everything, you may as well go out and create something amazing, something that you're proud of, something that you love, something that you're excited about, something that freaking lights you up every day to get you out of bed. Start small, carry on. That's all I can say. Anyway, guys, it's been great to be here with you. He kōnei rā, ka kite anō, means I'll see you again. And yeah, be back similar time tomorrow. Come and have a coffee with me. See you.